And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again, and today I've decided to revisit the DC New 52. Without any further ado, if you're familiar with my channel, you'll be familiar that I've dropped basically the internet's probably most comprehensive reading guide to the DC New 52. I made it about a year and a half or so ago. It's a 31 video series. Each video is about 20 to 30 minutes long, meaning that it's about 15 hours going through every single issue of the DC New 52 in detail, how to read it, how they're all connected, what's missing from the various collected formats, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into that today. I will leave a link to that in the description below. But today I just want to talk about a specific thing, which is the Justice League New 52 run, and in specific, the way that is now being collected in omnibus format, which wasn't the case back when I made the original videos. I'll drop a link in the description below to video 2.1 of that 31 video series, which is the video talking through the basic core Justice League series. Now, just to jump right into it. Previously, when I did my video about a year and a half ago, I talked about Justice League being collected in trade paperbacks and hardcovers. It wasn't really collected in any kind of oversized format like omnibuses or absolute editions or anything like that, but that has since changed. And although that's changed for quite a few different comics in the New 52, I haven't really been that bothered about doing an updated guide or showing what's now collected in different formats, because I think most of my viewers are capable of doing the most cursory Amazon search or Google search and working out what new formats have come into being. There's not really much point doing like a detailed reading guide or reading guide update, or just because something has been reprinted in a slightly larger format. But in this case, and specifically in the case of the Justice League, the formats and the way they've been collecting the omnibuses is quite interesting. So, like I say, in that video, you'll be able to see here, this is what the Justice League part of it looks like. But what I've done is I've rebuilt that video, or rather rebuilt that part of the map into a section which I can now show you here. And this is the Justice League run with nothing else in it, just showing you the Justice League volumes and how they're structured. So I thought I'd just talk you guys through this, and then I'll talk through how they're collected in a variety of different omnibus formats, and maybe it'll help you make a decision as to what particular omnibuses you should or shouldn't get. So I'm going to jump into this really quickly. We've got Justice League going from left to right. So to start with, on the left, we've got Volume 1 of the Justice League. As the trade paperbacks as volume with a small v. Then we have the second collection here of the Justice League. Then we have the third collection here, which, as you can see, is the Throne of Atlantis collection. Now, interestingly, and I go into this in the video in way more detail, there's another volume called Throne of Atlantis, which is part of the Aquaman arc of New 52 comics that contains different issues and different bits and pieces. But again, if you want the details, you should really watch my comprehensive New 52 guide. Moving swiftly along, we then have collection 4, which is this one called the Grid. And as well as that, we also need to remember that we also have Shazam. Now, Shazam isn't part of Justice League per se, although to be honest, if you were reading the Justice League, you will be aware that during the era of the Justice League, Shazam constituted backup issues and backup comic strips to issue 7 to 11 and 14 to 21. Plus, it took up the whole of issue 0. If you're not familiar with what issue 0 is, or if you're more interested in the details of what issues are in what collections, again, watch the main guide. This isn't going to go into that here. So as well as Shazam, which you should read round about here between the Grid and the next volume, there it is. Now, the next volume I'm showing here is Trinity War. Trinity War isn't a Justice League volume per se, because it does collect some of the issues from the Grid that you can see here, as well as collecting other issues from series like Trinity of Sin Pandora, Phantom Stranger, Justice League Dark, and even Justice League of America and Constantine as well, all from the DC New 52 era. If you're interested in a breakdown of exactly what issues and what order to read them in, again, check out the main video. After reading Trinity War, that takes us smoothly over here, but before we go that far, let's just look here and pan back a little bit. What you can see here are 4 random one-shot issues that all constitute the 23-point something issues at this point in the New 52. Now, every single line in the New 52 had a 23-point something issue. Some of them had multiple point something issues, as you'll see in a second, and they're all collected in a separate omnibus called the DC New 52 Villains Omnibus, which I'll show you a picture of here. If you look at the cover, please don't adjust your screens. The cover's not blurry. The image looks blurry, but that's because the actual cover of the physical omnibus is a lenticular cover, which means it's 3D. It's like a hologram. So showing you a flat picture of it here is going to look blurry, but if you see one in person, it has this cool kind of shimmering holographic 3D effect, which I can't really convey over a screen. So this is the New 52 Villains Omnibus. It contains all the issues out of 23 point something. But what I want to do is go back to the map here. And what we can see is that we've got 4 23 point something issues for Justice League and 4 23 point something issues for Justice League of America. So I'll just show you what these are if you want to ever track them down individually and read them. We've got 23.1, which is Darkseid, 23.2, Lobo, 23.3, which is Dial E, and 23.4, which is Secret Society. Looking at Justice League of America, which is not to be confused with the Justice League, we then have a Deadshot issue, we have a Killer Frost issue, a Shadow Thief issue, and a Black Adam issue. Again, as I will keep on saying, if you want to understand more about how that fits in, watch my full DC New 52 guide series and you'll understand it a bit better. But anyway, after Trinity War, we have these random 23 point something issues. And the next thing to read is this one in the middle here, which is Forever Evil. And Forever Evil has got 4 spin-off series which are worth looking at to start off with. We've got the Forever Evil Arkham War, which includes the Batman vs. Bane one-shot. We also have Forever Evil Argus as a mini-series, a limited series. We also have Forever Evil Rogues Rebellion here with Captain Cold on the cover. And on the right we have Forever Evil Blight, which actually, unlike the other 3, doesn't quite fit in. It's a bit like Sesame Street. One of these things isn't the same, and that's Forever Evil Blight, because Forever Evil Blight isn't a standalone miniseries. It's actually a bunch of crossover issues from a bunch of other stuff, including Justice League Dark, Constantine, a whole bunch of other things. If you want to know the exact issues in that and the reading order of that crossover, again, check out the main series in the video in the description. So that's the Forever Evil event. After that, we then move on to something really straightforward. We have Volume 5 of the Justice League, which is called Forever Heroes, Volume 6, which is called the Injustice League. Then we have Darkseid War Part 1. We then have Darkseid War Part 2 here on the right, and in between them we have a Darkseid War collection called Power of the Gods, which contains 6 different Darkseid War one-shots, which is a one-shot for Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Shazam, Superman, and I believe Lex Luthor as well. And that's something you need to read in between Darkseid War Trade Paperback 1 and Darkseid War Trade Paperback 2. That's where that was all fitted in. And then right at the end here, what we have is Justice League issue 51, which I don't particularly care about. It actually, I believe it's in a Teen Titans volume. Again, I discuss it in the major guide in more detail. And then what we've got here is this issue with Lex on the cover, which is Justice League 52, which I believe is collected in one of the Rebirth volumes of Justice League. And that's for DC Rebirth. Again, I won't talk about that here. Although I will point out, here is the DC Rebirth one-shot, which I'll show here right at the end of this journey. And that'll be obvious as to why I'm doing it. So let's pan back for a second, ladies and gentlemen. And what we have is Justice League from the left all the way through, including Shazam, Trinity War, the 23 point something one-shots, Forever Evil and all the spin-offs, and then all the ones on the right, including the random one-off issues here at the end, issues 51, 52 and the DC Rebirth one-shot, none of which are collected in the Justice League trade paperbacks. And that should really be where it ends. That is how my videos ended a year and a half ago, because those were the collected formats at the time. However, things have since moved on. And the first thing that DC did is they released the Darkseid War Omnibus, which I'll show you here. Now, the Darkseid War Omnibus size format, it's obviously looks really nice. It's all one continuous story. And to jump back to the map, it's actually this part of the map here. So I've grayed out all the stuff that's not included. It's literally just these issues here. If you want to double check it by either going back to the last thing I showed and pausing it and having a look at the contents, or you can go on Amazon and look at the contents there. But essentially it covers everything in this particular trade paperback issue and also the Power of the Gods paperback as well. So if you're a fan of just this part of the Justice League saga, then the Darkseid War Omnibus is for you. However, DC then, in their inevitable and absolutely inscrutable wisdom, decided to release another omnibus, which I'll show you here. And this omnibus is New 52 Justice League by Jeff Johns, and it's Omnibus Volume 1. The contents are written here, and if you want to freeze frame or pause it and have a look at that, you can do. But ultimately, the actual details itself and what issues are included can be seen on the map that I'm showing you here. So as you'll see, it's all the stuff on the left. I'm not even going to bother zooming in. We've got trade collections 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all the Shazam issues, and then also the spin-offs that are part of Trinity War as well. It collects it in quite a neat and tidy way, mainly because the grid, as you can see from this volume here, actually has a few issues that are also double dipped in Trinity War, but they're not double dipped in the omnibus. It's just one smooth, continuous collection, which is nice. The bit that I found quite interesting with this is actually with respect to Justice League Trade Paperback Collection Volume 3, which is Throne of Atlantis, which is actually available as a trade paperback or a hardcover. And the normal trade paperback and hardcover contains the following issues. It contains issues 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So 13 to 17 of Justice League, and then issues 15 to 16 of Aquaman. Now, the Throne of Atlantis Aquaman story arc contains some slightly different issues. It contains issues 14 of Aquaman and issue 0, and it doesn't contain quite as many issues of Justice League. In fact, I'll throw a link in the description below for a custom bind that I did myself, which combined the Justice League Throne of Atlantis with the Aquaman Throne of Atlantis to make one singular, sensible hardcover without any double dipping. Now, the interesting thing about the Omnibus, which DC released, is that the Omnibus itself also includes Aquaman issue 14 as well, which is kind of weird and surreal because that's not available if you just own the trade paperbacks or the trade paperback sized hardcovers for Justice League. So it's unusual that they did that here. I'm not quite sure why. It adds a bit more context to the Throne of Atlantis story, but I still think they missed a trick by not including issue 0 from Aquaman as well. So a little bit odd, but at the same time, not a bad thing at all. So anyway, that is where the first omnibus covers you. However, DC have now recently solicited, and it's not out yet at time of filming this, they've solicited this omnibus. Now, this omnibus is the DC New 52 Justice League by Jeff Johns, Volume 2, which is nice. Now, it's not out yet. I don't see any particular reason they're going to cancel it. I know DC get a bad rep, but I mean, they've done reasonably well with this so far, so I suspect this is going to come out. And if you have a look at the issues that are contained within, it's these issues. So we're back to the map here, and you'll see, well, it's not quite straightforward. So the first thing is, here's the stuff that was in the previous one, so Shazam, Trinity War, and so on. Then the new omnibus actually collects a couple of these 23-point issues. It doesn't collect the ones that are grayed out, but it does collect Justice League 23.4, Secret Society, and Justice League of America 23.4, Black Adam. But it doesn't collect any of the other 23-point-something issues. If you want those, you still have to either have the floppies or buy the New 52 Villains Omnibus. That's a slightly strange decision. Next, it also collects the Forever Evil event. Brilliant. However, it doesn't collect the 4 spin-offs, Arkham War, Argus, Rogues Rebellion, or Blight, which is a strange decision again. Forever Evil kind of warrants in a lot of ways its own omnibus, so it's strange that they've done it like this. More on that in a second. Then what they've done is they've collected all the remaining volumes. So volume 5, 6, 7, which is Darkseid War 1. They've also collected all the Darkseid War one-shots, and then Justice League Volume 8, the Darkseid War Part 2. However, the omnibus also collects these 3 random issues here. So 51, which is really a Teen Titans issue, 52, which is actually collected in DC Rebirth, and it collects the DC Rebirth one-shot. How very, very strange. Now, before we talk about that, I'm just going to pan back for a second, just so we can again look at what is covered in that second omnibus which has been solicited, which is all these. But before I talk about it as a whole and give my opinion, I just want to talk about the issues that are now still orphaned in Justice League Omnibus format, and that is these issues. So, to start off with, as we just said, a bunch of these 23 point something issues aren't going to be in the omnibuses. So no matter what omnibuses you buy, unless you buy the new 52 Villains omnibus, you're not going to have these 23 point something issues as part of your Justice League omnibuses. They're just not going to be in it. In addition, as we just said, the 4 Forever Evil spin-offs aren't going to be included either. So this is kind of weird. These are the orphaned issues. They have those missing, and they also have the 23-point one-shots missing. So there's actually a fair bit of missing content if you want to do a comprehensive read-through. What's my opinion? My opinion is this is absolutely fine. Don't worry about this. All 4 spin-off series, including Forever Evil Blight, even though it's a bit odd, all of them for Forever Evil were, in my opinion, not very good. I didn't enjoy them at all. So I personally don't care in the slightest that they're not collected in an oversized format because they're rubbish and I don't plan on ever reading them again. If you did enjoy those 4 spin-offs and you do like them and you do want to own them in an oversized format, I'm not sure what you can do. Unfortunately, it's not currently looking like there's going to be a separate Forever Evil omnibus. Um, Moving along back to the 23-point issues, I quite enjoyed all the 23-point issues. And if you do like them, you do have the option of buying the Justice League New 52 Villains Omnibus. So personally, I don't think it's a massive omission not to have these issues collected in it. Okay, so let's just pull back. So these are all the orphaned issues. You're probably wondering why I've got these 2 red arrows here. Well, the first one is to remind me to talk to you about what's happening here on the Throne of Atlantis. I've already talked about it a couple of times, which is that there's a few issues that tie into the Throne of Atlantis, where if you're buying it as trade paperbacks, you really need to buy the companion Aquaman trade paperback. In this DC Omnibus 1, as I just mentioned, they do contain one extra Aquaman issue that isn't collected in the trade paperbacks, but at the same time, I still think they're lacking a bit of context. And to be honest, it feels to me like if you read this Throne of Atlantis volume, you can get on with it, but they're kind of missing a trick by not including the whole story arc. And in a way, it feels like if you're going to buy this omnibus, which by all means you should do, if you want to buy the DC New 52 Justice League Omnibus 1, I would strongly recommend that you buy the Aquaman by Jeff Johns omnibus as well, which I'll show you here. And that omnibus would be a great read, and it contains some of the Justice League issues, and it would be a great companion piece on your shelf. Going back to the map here, that was the first red arrow. The other one that I wanted to point out is the one pointing down at Trinity War. And the reason for that is that Trinity War is a funny one. It does contain a few different spin-off issues. As I mentioned, it's got Trinity of Sin Phantom Stranger, Trinity of Sin Pandora, a couple of Justice League Dark issues, and some Constantine issues. Those are all, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, pretty forgettable. Just because you're reading Trinity War, I wouldn't recommend that you go out and read all of Phantom Stranger and Constantine and Justice League Dark and all that sort of stuff. You can if you want to, and again, if you want a detailed, comprehensive breakdown and reading guide, it's available in my 31 video series, which is a playlist you can find on my channel. The one thing I think is a misstep here is the Trinity War arc only contains Justice League of America issues 6 and 7. Whereas actually Justice League of America issues 1 to 5 add a really nice bit of non-essential context to the story. It doesn't ruin it by any means. If you want to buy the Justice League Omnibus for this first half, the Omnibus Volume 1, feel free to do so. But when you get to this part of it, you might find yourself hankering and wondering what happens in the Justice League of America issues, and you might want to pick those up yourself as a separate trade paperback, which I would recommend you do. And again, the details are in my wider guide. So those are the omissions from that. Let's just toggle back through. Let's have a quick review of where we are. These are the orphaned issues. These are the issues in the Justice League New 52 second omnibus, which is solicited. This is the issues in the Justice League New 52 first omnibus, which is out. And these are the issues from the Darkseid War Omnibus. Just to point out, the issues here you can see on the right from the Darkseid War Omnibus are totally double dipped in this brand new Justice League Volume 2 you can see here. So it's up to you. If you only like that particular story and didn't like the rest of it, then feel free to only pick up the Darkseid War Omnibus. From my point of view, I enjoyed the whole run, so I would highly recommend picking it all up. I'm not massively enamored with the way this has actually been designed, and I'll show you what I mean in terms of the full overview here. In terms of how this has been designed, I enjoy it. I like the New 52. I really enjoyed the Justice League run. I've got the Trinity War. I've got Forever Evil. I didn't have the Forever Evil spin-offs, and I picked up the 23 point something issues as their own omnibus. I think what I'm sort of reserved about here is the fact that it contains these final 3 issues at the end, which just don't really fit in at all. Issues 51, 52 in the DC Rebirth issue, I would much rather not have these. 51 isn't really relevant, even though it's not a bad issue. 52 is collected in my Rebirth Deluxe hardcovers, and the DC Universe Rebirth one-shot is collected as its own single oversized hardcover. So I'm not really sure there's any point picking those up or having those in this collection. And similarly, I quite like having in the Trinity War, I quite like having the wider context of having Justice League of America in my collection. And I also quite like having the wider context of my custom Throne of Atlantis bind that I've got a link for in the description below. So ultimately, this is a pretty good way of collecting it. DC haven't done badly, but the improvement from collecting it in what you can see here in the map, which is the trade paperbacks and the single issues that haven't been collected, the difference between that and actually going out and double dipping and buying the omnibuses just for the sake of slightly oversized artwork, it just isn't enough for me. It's not enough for me to warrant selling my existing collection, including a custom bind, just to upgrade to some omnibuses that don't necessarily collect stuff the way that I would like anyway. It's not perfect, it's good, but it's not perfect in my understanding and my sort of appreciation of what I would like. That's because the leap from trade paperback size to omnibus size is quite good in terms of size and quality, but it's not big enough. If they re-released everything as absolute size, then yeah, they've got me. If they re-released all this as absolute size format, I would double dip till the cows come home. I love absolute size format to the extent that one thing that I have done is I've actually gone out and bought the first 2 volumes you can see here of the Justice League, the two on the left, as the absolute size edition, just because it looks so damn good. So if they did actually re-release this all as an absolute, you know what, I would get suckered into it. But for me, stepping up from trade paperbacks in a format I really enjoy, that look really good in my collection, that I've got some custom binds with it, and ignore all the dross and all the issues I don't like, to move from that to 2 omnibuses that are slightly larger format, admittedly, but don't necessarily have everything I want in exactly the way that I like, is not worth it for me. But hopefully for you guys, this was a useful overview. I know it's a long video. I know this is kind of exhausting and detailed, but hey, that's what this channel is for. Um, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please share the video more widely. And if you want to support the channel, check out a free excerpt of my episodic prose novel about superheroes called No Gods or Kings. It's on the website, nogodsorkings.com. Link is in the description below. Feel free to follow me or message me on Twitter. And until next time, Internet, stay classy.